It's really fascinating to see the emphasis on the growth of natural gas and the LNG business, and the way the United States has what we call the shale gale really changed the global gas business and made the United States a very big player.
Talk to me about what they're saying about trade there, specifically because Wilbur Ross, the Secretary of Commerce, has long talked about using natural gas as one way to improve the trade deficit here in the United States and our ability to export it.
Certainly that has been a very key point. And the Chinese, they talked about putting tariffs on U.S. oil. They did not talk about putting tariffs on U.S. natural gas, because this is seen as one of the major ways to change that energy balance, and also because China is going to be the world's largest importer of gas next year, and it needs a lot of natural gas. Last winter, they actually had hospitals that didn't have heat. So I think the natural gas, the LNG business, is going to be an important element in the U.S. trade balance, because we're going to end up, the U.S. is one of the two or three top exporters of LNG in the world, which was something that was not imaginable a decade ago.
Dan, what's your assessment of the crude market here as the market kind of digests the messages of OPEC and sort of holds pretty close to the top end of its price range?
Yeah, well, the market sort of had to figure out what was actually agreed upon. But I think, as I think Becky was saying before we went on, that those exporters were looking, the key exporters were looking at that number $85 that was likely in the summer, and they realized there was going to be a lot of problems with that, including here in the United States. President Trump was tweeting, but the Indian minister at OPEC last week said that these prices are causing us great pain. And so these countries, Saudi Arabia, Russia, United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait, they're the ones with the spare capacity. They said they're going to bring it up to try and modulate prices. But there's still big risk out there. One is how fast Venezuela goes down. Second thing is, are these sanctions on Iran going to be put in place more quickly? And if they do, they're going to take a lot of oil out of the market. And then you have things like an accident in Canada. So the market is still tight, but the decision that was made in OPEC is basically to, get 1 million barrels a day roughly into the market beyond what was there before, and and let me just say, what it also means is that the period of the oil collapse is well behind us now.
Hey, Dan, end this debate. It's my favorite question. We've been talking about this Saudi Aramco IPO, if, when, ever. Yesterday, we had Tom Farley on, former head of the NYSE. He had been trying to compete for that IPO. We also had John Kilduff on. Mr. Farley says we will see something in 2019. Kilduff says never. What do you think?
Well, I think it's still on the agenda for 2019. The Crown Prince has made it one of his very first major initiatives. So in some form, I think at this point, you'd have to say it's going to happen in 2019. But there is that phrase that they use when it's the optimal circumstances.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.